Great, I think we can get started. It is now 1:01. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Arts and Active Transportation Safety Toolbox Tuesday session. Hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. And we are back now for our Toolbox Tuesday session. This session will recognize Pedestrian Safety Month for September by focusing on active transportation projects that center asphalt art to improve safety for people walking and biking, using case studies from our Go Human Community Grants awardees and pop-up demonstration projects. This session will invite speakers. We have 3 amazing speakers today to discuss arts engagement and creative placemaking or placekeeping strategies to bolster community engagement and increase active transportation safety. My name is Jasmine Munoz, and I am an assistant regional planner here at SCAG. I mainly assist on Go Human projects like the Kit of Parts, our programs for the Kit of Parts, and co-branding materials and other tasks. And if you're interested in learning more about our Go Human resources, I will put this link in the chat if you're interested to see more. And so today we have, like I said earlier, 3 amazing speakers coming from different parts of the SCAG region to talk about their projects. So at this time, I would like to, if you're able to, Jennifer, please pull up the poll. We have 2-question poll for everyone. If you do not mind filling that out for me, just to see who is in the room today. And you should see it. I see it now, but we should see it now. Our first question is, what best describes the type of organization you are representing today? So we have a lot of local government people, a few from school, advocacy organization, community members, and county governments. So I think 28 people out of the 33 have participated, so it's pretty good. Yeah, mostly people from local government are participating today. Great. And the next question, please. So yeah, this is very much staff. And then the second, oh yes, sorry. Oh, I thought there was like 2 different slides, 2 slides. But the second question is, what best describes where you are today? Most people are coming from Los Angeles County, and a sprinkle of people from Orange, San Bernardino, and Ventura County. Great. And we can close this poll. Thank you for participating. But also you're welcome to place your name, your pronouns, and the organization that you're representing in the chat too. So please feel free to do that so you can connect with others if you'd like. Let's see, next slide, please. Or actually, I can do this. Thank you. Great. Agenda. Okay, great. I will briefly put the agenda here today. So after this agenda slide, I will go through a land acknowledgement piece, followed by session logistics, followed by a very brief Go Human background overview and funding. And as you see here, we have the 3 speakers here today from the city of Laguna Niguel, Santa Ana Active Streets, and Arts for Council Long Beach, which I will introduce our speakers shortly. And we are aiming to close today 2:30, so with a Q&A right before that. Awesome. So SCAG acknowledges that we are living, working, and recreating on Indigenous lands. SCAG's LA office is located on the land of the Chumash, Tongva, and Quiche people. We recognize that these tribes are still here and we are committed to supporting the continuation of their stories, cultures, and communities. I am personally calling from the San Fernando Valley, which is within the ancestral lands of the Tataviam peoples. We welcome you all to explore the resources provided in the chat further for your awareness for the local Indigenous communities. So I will place some more resources in this chat right here. Session logistics. So this meeting is supposed to be for 1.5 hours, give or take. This meeting is being recorded. All participant lines will be muted. And at the end, there will be a Q&A session. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type it in the chat box or press the raise hand function. And a recording of this webinar and the slides will be available on the SCAG website. And if you have any questions for me, I will just place my, let's see, my email here. Great. So we will start. I'll start off with our Go Human program background. SCAG launched its community engagement and traffic safety program, Go Human, back in 2015 to reduce traffic collisions and encouraging people to walk and bike more. So here on my right side, there is a couple of statistics on our regional data snapshot. And again, September is California Pedestrian Safety Month. So please, please be on the lookout for any of our social media, which will be highlighting our current Go Human awardees on what they have been doing for their projects. And in honor of California Pedestrian Safety Month, I will be we will shortly be posting some updates on their projects related to Pedestrian Safety Month. Kit of Parts, we do have a Kit of Parts program. It is a no-cost engagement tool that temporarily demonstrates safety infrastructure. So that includes a creative crosswalk, curb extension, parklet, median refuge island, and a separated bike lane. And all of these come with educational signage, and you'll see at the bottom here with the artistic crosswalk. So if you are interested in learning more about the Kit of Parts, in the beginning, I placed the SCAG Go Human website there. And lastly, if you are interested in learning more of our resources, we encourage everyone to please sign up for our traffic safety pledge. Please sign up on behalf of your jurisdiction, an organization, or yourself. And here is the link for you to sign the safety pledge and get abundant amount of resources. And with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Kathy Nguyen. Kathy is the Engineering Services Manager and City Traffic Engineer at the City of Laguna Niguel. She is a licensed civil and traffic engineer with 15 years of experience in municipal government and transportation engineering. Her passion is to explore new ideas that has led to implementation and innovative traffic safety solutions throughout Orange County. Today, Kathy will be talking about Niguel Hills Middle School artistic crosswalk paintings that were painted nearby the school campus in 2022 after using the Kit of Parts elements that I just briefly showed in the slides before. Thank you, Kathy, for being here, and we're excited to hear about the artistic crosswalks.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Nguyen. I'm with the City of Laguna Niguel Public Works Department. Public Works is usually not associated with art, so it is an honor to be here on behalf of Laguna Niguel Public Works and share our creative work with you. So this is a photo of an intersection right in front of a middle school. It's Niguel Hills Middle School. It's the only middle school in our city. And this is Shark Bay on the smaller street. It's Shark Bay, and it ends in a cul-de-sac at the school parking lot. And it was renamed about 5 years ago by the middle school students because they wanted to name the street after their mascot. So there is a lot of school pride at Niguel Hills. And as you can see, there's lots of pedestrians and e-bikes, sorry about that, and lots of e-bikes at this intersection, as well as lots of cars, because there's just not a lot of bus activity. This identified a need for us to look at some additional safety measures to enhance ped and bike safety. So the goal was to enhance ped and bike safety, and the number one complaint we received at this intersection was e-bike maneuvers. We got complaints about e-bikes turning with car traffic, and the thing about this demographic is that these students are about 11, 12 years old. They've never taken driver's ed, so they're not aware or know the rules of the road. And so they were cutting off cars. They were riding tandem on a bike that wasn't a tandem bike, and not signaling with their hands when they're turning. So there were a lot of safety concerns, and the city ended up taking a holistic approach to finding solutions. We believe that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And so some of the things that we implemented was education for the e-bike users. So the police department worked with the school and the school district to educate students on wearing helmets and making sure that they walk their bikes across the crosswalk. I know that's not a state requirement, but it was something that the middle school wanted to implement just to make the intersection safer. So the students had to get off their bikes and walk across the crosswalk and then get back on their bikes once they're outside of the intersection. We also implemented some engineering improvements, such as video detection, so that we could detect bicycles. And we put up yellow reflective tape at the signal heads just for more visibility at the intersection. We also implemented some signal timing changes, such as a leading pedestrian interval, which gives peds a head start into the crosswalk before the light turns green for cars. We also implemented a school flush plan so that during the school inbound and outbound times, we were able to give preference to peds as well as cars, depending on the movement. We also installed high visibility crosswalks. Those are those laddered crosswalks that you see at schools. It just highlights the intersection a little bit more. We also converted the bus lane because there's not that many buses that take students to Niguel Hills Middle School. We turned that bus lane into a right turn only lane. Just to give you a visual, it's this lane here, and it feeds into the neighborhood by the school, and it allowed the circulation to flow a lot better. And we did make this lane, the right turn lane, bus exempt, so that buses were still able to use it. And we also looked at the SCAG kit of parts and decided that we wanted to try out the artistic crosswalks, which is something that the city hadn't considered before. We also signed the SCAG Go Human Pledge, as Jasmine mentioned earlier. It's a tool for us to educate our public about ped and bike safety. So last year, after signing the pledge, we got postcards. As you can see here, we got bus shelter signs, Instagram frames modeled by one of our staff, and a photo booth backdrop that we use at some of our ped and bike events. And this is a photo of the demonstration that we did in September 2022. We received the SCAG kit of parts and implemented their vinyl sheets that we taped down on the existing crosswalk in the school parking lot. So we had to coordinate with the school principal, the police department, our consulting staff that helped us put all this together. We used Mark Thomas and Company for a lot of this planning. And we also had our engineering staff as well as our maintenance staff involved in the demonstration project. And this is a photo of a cardboard cutout of the crosswalks. And this was just to get some attention on the art contest that we developed for the students. We wanted to get buy-in from the students because we heard that from the school principal that the students weren't using the crosswalk in the parking lot. They were just crossing, anywhere. And so we wanted to at least get them to cross in a more centralized location. So we came up with an art contest for the students and handed out flyers at the demonstration project, as well as posting the art contest on our social media. And this is an example of the submissions that we received. The school principal selected the final designs, and then we developed an RFP to find a professional artist who had experience painting artistic crosswalks or large murals. And the artist that we selected, his name is Manuel Enriquez, and his assistants came during the week-long Thanksgiving break in 2022 to paint the crosswalks. And this is a photo of him painting the crosswalk in the school parking lot. There were 2 other crosswalks that were in the neighborhoods, and the residents who lived in those neighborhoods really embraced the art, and they even brought out food and drinks for the artists while they worked in the spirit of Thanksgiving. And here's a photo of that before and after of the crosswalk that's in the neighborhood. The original student drawing of this wave didn't include the yellow bars, so the RFP did require that the artist add crosswalk bars where they're needed in order for the crosswalks to comply with state standards. And this is a photo of all 4 of the artistic crosswalks that were installed. The RFP did also give the artist permission to make artistic interpretations of the students' artwork, but Manuel stayed true to the students' designs. He said when he was a student, one of his teachers believed in him and supported his artwork, and it gave him the confidence to pursue his career in art. And so he said he wanted to pay it forward and give these students something to hold on to as well. So he didn't sign his name on the crosswalks, he signed the students' names. The crosswalks cost about $26,000 to install. And every year we do have to maintain them by putting in the anti-slip coatings about twice a year, and that costs about $1,500 a year. The timeline, it started with the planning, which took about 3 months. The demonstration itself was just a day. We gave the students some time to develop their artwork, so we gave that about a month. And then the installation took about a week for 4 crosswalks, but it was a little bit rushed at the end because the artist did want to make sure that the artwork was done well. And so they did take a lot of time, and so they needed several people to help paint the crosswalks. Some challenges and successes include, for the challenges, we do hear about complaints about the maintenance. So we had heard that the paint is a little slippery, which is why we've added the anti-slip coatings to it. And it does start to chip off, especially when there are trucks driving through the streets or the parking lot. Shark Bay is not an arterial street, so luckily we're able to hold on to these crosswalks for about 2 years now. But I could imagine if they were on a larger arterial, I think the maintenance would be really challenging. And another question that we get is the liability. So I know a lot of us on this webinar are from local governments, and liability is something that we do have to consider because the artwork isn't necessarily covered in our standards. But we did make sure to include the required features, such as the crosswalk bars, and made them yellow near the school. So, just keeping that in mind, making sure that you do meet the MUTCD requirements. And some of the successes that I want to highlight is the collaboration and partnership with several of our the teams that we worked with, including the school principal, the school district, since they own the parking lot, police services, that's our police department, the parents and students that helped contribute their artwork, the artist and his team, as well as the Mark Thomas team, who helped us plan this entire event. And then this is also an example of the combination of art and public works, which is not something that you see every day. So it was really fun to work on something creative and do something that I hadn't done before in my career. So it was nice to work on something so unique. And then this is also an opportunity for placemaking on a street like Shark Bay. And this was unique because we've seen examples of artistic crosswalks in other cities, and they were, sometimes stencils or painted by a professional artist. But this was a showcase of the students' artwork, which I thought really made this unique to this school. And some major takeaways included the community embracing this type of arts installation in the city. We did get a lot of compliments from the public on it, and they've been asking for more. We've showed that we can implement something like this on a small scale. So when there is an opportunity to expand this and make it bigger, we definitely want to explore that. And this also allowed us to be creative on public works projects. A lot of our public works projects are, pavement rehab and, facilities maintenance and things like that. That are not that, interesting on the surface, but, this is something that's unique for our department. And this also builds momentum for us to continue inspiring creativity in our department and our staff, and the teamwork and the partnerships that we've developed in the last few years. And then this also gave us an opportunity to explore something new in the city, which is a cycle track. I know I've seen them in other cities, but in South Orange County, there's not a lot of cycle tracks. And we did a demonstration on one of our arterials last week, and received a lot of compliments on a cycle track. So this is just a building block to doing more of those types of improvements. And it was very nice of some of the organizations like the American Society of Civil Engineers and American Planning Association and the American Public Works Association for recognizing the Niguel Hills Middle School Safety Program for all of the improvements that we made around the middle school. And that's it. And I'll be happy to answer any questions during the Q&A. Thank you.
Oh, it's amazing, Kathy. I did not recognize all those awards at the very end. That's awesome. Great work. Yes, and all questions will be in the Q&A portion of the session. So thank you, Kathy, for being with us today. Our next presenter will be Dorian Romero from the Santa Ana Active Streets, and they are a project director. Through her role at Santa Ana Active Streets, Dorian promotes bike and pedestrian education programs in Santa Ana, while also leading resident advocacy, organizational development, and funding efforts forward within the organization. And today, Dorian will be talking about the organization's Go Human Mini Grant Award back in 2022 for the Willard Safe Streets project. And Dorian, you are welcome to start. So thank you for being here today.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Are you able to hear me, Jasmine?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. All right. So hi, everybody. Any friends and allies out there? Good afternoon to you, especially. So again, my name is Dorian Romero, the recent project director at Santa Ana Active Streets, also known as SAS. And today I'll be talking about our Willard Safe Streets event, which was an initiative led by SAS and the Willard Neighborhood Association. And that project aimed to dialogue with residents about how spaces can be made safer for bicyclists and pedestrians, while also celebrating the richness of the community. So I'll be sharing a little bit on how we executed the education and encouragement event, which took place in August of 2022. And here will be a brief video that will recap how that day went. And I believe our AV support will be sharing the video.
Councilman Hernandez here with the beautiful city of Santa Ana. We're in Ward 5 at the Willard School today, and we are celebrating the Santa Ana Active Streets and Willard Neighborhood Association collaborative event. This event encompasses play and learning and combines the two. The beautiful thing about this event is that there are children receiving helmets, riding bikes, and they're learning how to safely navigate their streets. The city of Santa Ana is giving away ARPA gift cards totaled at $300 per family.
Hi, my name is Irene Cabañas, president of the Willard Neighborhood Association. We really want to focus and bring attention to ways we can improve on having a safer community.
So my name is Christopher Forden. I'm the project director of Santa Ana Street. We know that the Willard neighborhood is a really walkable, it's a really bikeable community. A lot of folks do it out of necessity. That's why we wanted to try to envision a kind of event that went out onto the street.
Hello everybody, Councilman Hernandez here with the beautiful city of Santa
So you can go to our Instagram and look at that video. Our previous link expired, so my apologies for that. So we can go on to the next slide. So if you're not familiar with the Willard community, it is located at the heart of Orange County, and it's one of the neighborhoods right outside the city's downtown area. It's a vibrant, pedestrian-heavy neighborhood with more than 9,600 residents, and in 2021, it was one of the densest communities in the city of Santa Ana. There it is. And Willard neighborhood residents' median income was roughly $49,000 a year, which is 32% less than the city's median income. And roughly 80% of the population at the time were renters, and more than half of them paid about 30% of their income for housing costs. So this is a brief overview of the community that we were working in. Next slide. So Willard Safe Streets started with the work of the neighborhood's residents expressing their concerns about unsafe speeds traveling through the area. And they did everything you'd think they do. The neighborhood association reached out to their elected officials, and they presented their concerns to staff at Public Works. And the city staff did work to analyze traffic speeds in the neighborhood. But the speed study didn't find a significant amount of high-speed travel. And so staff moved to recommend no street calming interventions were necessary at the moment. But city staff did say that if they wanted to install things like speed bumps or traffic circles, they'd need more community support for those types of things. And so with that, you know, you could say that to a community like Willard, but that does miss an understanding that a system is not easy and accessible for everyone. Not everyone knows how to conduct, you know, feedback from community and then go to your city officials. So even so, with societal pressures in that area, like housing instability, gentrification, and then residents who have to live paycheck by paycheck. So that was a bit of a barrier there for that suggestion. And so with that, we learned about what was happening in the Willard community from our very special volunteer, Irene Cabañas, who is the president of the Willard Neighborhood Association. She became very active. She became a very active participant during the pandemic, and eventually she did become one of our core volunteers. So as SAS would share knowledge about the difficulties of traveling by bike or foot in the city through community events, the issues resonated with Irene, and her work in the Willard community. So we had, as SAS, we had worked with government entities throughout the years, like the city, at our local transit authority, and at SCAG, with SCAG. So we had resources we could leverage, and she had the community connections and energy to make something happen. So we identified Willard's struggles around traffic safety as an area we could collaborate on. And we went out for the funding through SCAG. So it was called Go Humans Mini Grant Program to kick off our efforts at the time. So this is the beautiful artwork that came from this project. So Willard Safe Streets, or Comunidad Segura de Willard. And this image, I love this image because it really paints the picture of what this community looks like. That tree is the Willard tree. There's a very giant tree right in the middle of the neighborhood. And every evening you can see people exercising, walking their dogs, buying paletas, using parking lots as public spaces. So we applied for the grant. We received what the max amount was in that time, which is $15,000. So we started planning the event. We envisioned a community celebration. We wanted to highlight the joy of the community and also offer any other beneficial resources. So we did bring other people to come table. We wanted to activate the space better. And so we also included the artistic crosswalk from the Kid of Park. And through our collaboration with Irene, it took us about 2 or 3 months to plan all the logistics. The event happened in August of 2022, and it was a late afternoon event into the evening event. So it happened from 4:30 to 7 p.m. And the participants were majority families with children and elderly folks who were direct neighbors of the event location. Families that came by were those who were cost burdened and expressed their appreciation for the free incentives. Luckily, we were able to provide monetary gift cards that were donated from the city's Revive Santa Ana program, free helmets, free refillable water bottles, and other resources from the tabling orgs. And then in general, an event that offers a variety of activities for kids and resources for families is always appreciated, especially in low-income communities. And during the event, we heard from participants that they enjoyed learning about traffic safety and the resources that we brought that they didn't really know about, especially the nearby library. They learned about SAS's upcoming bike classes. And within the Willard neighborhood is our local bike cooperative, the Bicycle Tree. So not even nearby residents knew about this bike shop. So we brought them over. They, did minor bike repairs and such. So yeah, everybody that stopped by loved how we activated a parking lot. We used the nearby Willard Intermediate School's parking lot for this event. And also, thinking about what safe streets could look like, especially because a lot of them were mothers and caregivers who often take their kids to school. And one other thing about this slide is in the middle, you can see Irene Cabañas. She's our Willard Neighborhood Association president. And then also next to her is a local artist named Adriana Martinez. We hired her to come and do some art and craft activities for the youth. Next slide. So here you can see we had a bike course and the temporary artistic crosswalk. So the artistic crosswalk made participants feel seen and reminded them to be alert when walking and biking. With the help of Peatonito, if you all know him, we were also lucky enough to have him participate during the event to help pedestrians cross. And the bike course we implemented taught youth how to scan and signal. And then as they received the free helmet, they also learned about the proper helmet fitting steps. Another activity we did was the Place It activity, where we encouraged youth and other participants to imagine what their neighborhood could look like if there were safer streets and open space. So some ideas that were expressed were a desire for a skate park, a zoo, parks for recreational activities such as soccer and riding bikes. We have the Willard Intermediate School track where most of the residents go and play soccer in the evenings. They run, or also they use the basketball courts there. But if they could have something outside of the school grounds, it would allow for more park hours throughout the day, not just in the evenings. And one story that was shared was there was a mom who grew up in Willard, and she actually couldn't recall spending much time in any parks as a youth. But she did remember the first time she took her son to the park and watched him play. So things like that just makes people remember, how they grew up and in what kind of space they grew up and maybe what they would desire for their children. So for us, really learning from residents demonstrated the high need of bringing more open spaces to communities such as this one's. And the area's high number of renters, pollution burdens, and its place as a cut-through neighborhood for traffic going to the downtown area has made it difficult for the neighborhood residents to advocate for these types of things. This event was in 2022. We've learned much more since then, but at the time we reflected on what lessons we learned. We definitely had dreamed big on this project. It was a lot of effort and collaboration with multiple entities like Public Works, Traffic Engineering, the school. As Kathy mentioned, we have similar collaborations, neighbors, volunteers, the neighborhood association, also president and neighbors, artists, other organizations. So we dreamed big. It was a large parking lot. And so definitely want to give a big shout out to all our supporters at the time, like Tool Design, SCAG staff, our volunteers, the neighborhood association, and then definitely the City of Santa Ana Public Works Department. And then staff at the time, Christopher Fortin, if you're out there, hello. But yeah, a big collaboration. And we also had difficulties with obtaining the permits because as an organization and as staff at the time, it was our first time trying to get permits to put in the artistic crosswalk. You do need a traffic safety plan, I believe, or a site plan, traffic safety site plan. Is that what it's called? A site plan. You need to apply through the city, and also you needed a permit with the school. And then promoting such a big event were all new things to us. So that was one of our lessons learned. But luckily, Irene, she had experience with hosting events because of the neighborhood association involvement there. So she did support us a lot in the permit process. And then for us, we wanted to provide the world to our beloved residents here in Santa Ana, but we didn't have the funding to provide everything we wanted. A big one for us was food. Food is an essential supply when you're reaching the community. So that was one of the funding restrictions for these SCAG mini grants, but we always definitely want to provide food, water, fun, play, free activities, free resources for people to take away. So that was another one of our difficulties at the time. So definitely relying on donations and things like that. So another lesson we learned was that there is a big need. There's a continuous need for different neighborhoods, not just this one, but different neighborhoods throughout our city of Santa Ana, for the need for safe streets, open space, and resources. Because we saw many families and children, elderly folk, really vocalizing and enjoying the activities we had that day. So things like having the recreational spaces, having visibility for pedestrians and cyclists. And so we need more of this, and obviously always more volunteers and funding. So flash forward in a year after that, what came from it was we got some money, some funding to host another education and encouragement event, but smaller scale. This time it was inside of the Willard Intermediate School basketball courts. So we did reserve the artistic crosswalk again, smaller scale version. The other crosswalks were butcher paper and chalk. And so for this event, the intention was to get design ideas to potentially move a project like this from being temporary to being permanent. So this was in 2023. And we gathered surveys for traffic safety feedback and design ideas. And one of the outcomes from those two activities were that we got awarded the APA award at the Orange County and state level. And then after that, we had attention from elected officials and the Public Works Director, who then wanted to collaborate on making something like this a permanent project. And the Irene Cabañas was the one that led it forward after that. So my old colleague right there, Christopher Fortin, he's married now. He's now a transportation program director up in Portland. He was a big part of this project, so I definitely want to give him the shout out there. So Irene, who's on the left, and that's her son Kobe. He's very involved as well. They both led it forward. You know, they stayed in communication with the Public Works staff, and they also were in communication with the artist, who in the next slide you can see one of the other outcomes. So we were able to finally make it a permanent crosswalk, and that's the design right there on the left. It happened actually this year. I can't believe it was this year, but March of 2024, and that's the design. You can see on the other slide the artist. Cynthia Lujan is a visual artist and muralist, cultivating projects that promote inclusive, accessible, and safe public spaces. So you can see a picture of her in the next slide. And she also had been a SAS Advisory Council member for 3 years. So we're very thankful to know Cynthia. Maybe some of you all out there know her as well. But if you're interested in learning more about her work and her projects, there is her website. So we will continue to be very engaged in the community. As you can see now, this summer in 2024, we did this again from funding that we got from the SCAG Human Community Streets grant. This is a new neighborhood, a new group of residents that we're gonna continue to engage. So we call this project Somos Delhi, and we're going to continue moving it forward to see how we can move from one neighborhood to another. You know, we don't want to just dip and skip. You know, we want to stay engaged with whatever residents we involve. So we'll see where this project comes, but definitely something we just completed this summer in another neighborhood. And with that, I'll finish. If anybody has questions at the end, I'll be here.
Thank you, Dorian. Great visuals and congratulations for the permanent installation. And now I will introduce our last speaker for the session, Sergio Alan Diaz. He is a programs associate at Arts Council for Long Beach. Sergio is a community-oriented public art focused arts professional and photographer. Sergio has experience working with communities and neighborhoods across Long Beach, California, strengthening relationships through public art projects, grant funding, and artist opportunities. And today, Sergio will be talking about Long Beach's Washington Neighborhood Community Corners project that was also part of the Go Human mini grant program in 2022. So thank you, Sergio, for being here.
Thank you for the introduction, Jasmine. As mentioned, I'm Sergio Alan Diaz. I am currently the Programs Associate with the Arts Council for Long Beach. I assist with our grants programming as well as our arts education programming here in the city of Long Beach. I'll be going over the Community Corners project, which is located at 15th Street and Chestnut Avenue in the Washington neighborhood. You could see here in the image a before picture. This was a render from the Long Beach Public Works Department, visualizing what a bulb out looks like. As you can tell, this is kind of what our project ended up being, which is a bulb out for this intersection here. But before I go any further, I will be doing a land acknowledgement. The Arts Council for Long Beach recognizes that we live and work on the traditional and sacred lands of the Tongva, Quiche, Akjaman, and Chumash, and the many other indigenous groups who call these grounds home. We honor and extend our gratitude to all the original people still living in this region. And a little bit about the Arts Council for Long Beach is that the Arts Council for Long Beach cultivates the physical, social, and economic characteristics of Long Beach neighborhoods by nurturing and enlivening the arts. We serve individuals, groups, and organizations through advocacy, arts education, public art, and grant making within the city. We practice profound inclusion as a collaborator and convener for the benefit of all communities. We center community and artists at the heart of our projects when managing any artist calls, installing artworks, as well as advocating for stewardship of art. So our agenda for today, I'll be going into a little bit of the Washington neighborhood background and the communities that we worked with, the actual project background and timeline that we worked with, our hyperlocal engagement, the installation, and as well as a little bit of the community reception of the Community Corners project. So our project is located in the Washington neighborhood. I have 3 images here, 3 locations that are very key places of community as well as engagement for the Washington neighborhood. We have the Washington Middle School, which serves 6th through 8th graders. We have the 14th Street Skate Park and basketball courts, which is pretty much frequent by all generations in the community, as there's various activities to do, from exercising machines, basketball, skating, as the name states. And we also have the Long Beach Day Nursery, which is actually at the corner of 15th Street and Chestnut. And I believe it's going on its 110th year being open. So we have pretty much partnered with the Long Beach Day Nursery every step of the way, as they're quite literally on the edge, and they've helped us a lot. So these are three main areas that we actually engaged with, and very much had events held at these places so that we could go ahead and get some survey responses. I want to take a moment to recognize two of our very important community navigators. That's the name that was given by the Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles. We have Jesus Esparza, which is the Washington Neighborhood Association president. And we also have Terry Irby, who is a Washington Neighborhood Community Navigator. These two individuals were pretty much vital to the entire program in getting community engagement and community buy-in, tapping into different organizations and different groups within that Washington neighborhood in order to get those people out to our events, learn more about traffic safety, learn more about the Arts Council and how we're actually partnering on this project and what we do as an organization. And we have a quote from Terry that says, "When you know that people put their best creative efforts out there for you, you know that you matter, you belong." So this was very, very important to Jesus and Terry to see this whole entire project to fruition. Here is the area that we worked in pretty much. If you go a little bit above this map, we have Pacific Coast Highway, Long Beach Boulevard, we have Anaheim Street and Magnolia. This is the Washington Neighborhood Public Art Map that was developed by the Arts Council for Long Beach in various projects that we've partnered in with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles as well. So prior to when I started at the Arts Council, the Love Beyond Borders project at the Washington Middle School was already underway, adding different elements of art that were requested by the neighborhood. And so once I joined, I was able to help out with the Together We Make Change utility box project, the Growing Better Together, as well as the Community Corners. So this all ties into the actual Community Corners project and the work we were doing prior to the actual Community Corners in order to actually already engage the community and see the safety needs. As in a few slides, we'll see some news coverage on the safety of the Washington neighborhood. So these are the artworks that were created out of those projects with the neighborhood, Habitat for Humanity of Greater LA, and the Arts Council for Long Beach. So we have this mural on the side of the Washington Middle School, and we also have various utility boxes that line Long Beach and Anaheim. So here are some images of some Washington neighborhood protests in regards to traffic safety as well as violence. These were concerns that were brought up to us throughout all of our project engagements as to what's the Arts Council doing in order to promote traffic safety through artistic elements. As they were seeing us do murals and different utility boxes around the neighborhood, they wanted to know if there was anything that we can do in terms of improving traffic safety, as many had already seen various other crosswalks around Long Beach. And so the neighborhood came to us in regards to this intersection of 15th Street and Chestnut. And so that's how the Community Corners project came to be. So we sought to increase pedestrian and mobility safety through traffic calming public art. And so this project was made possible through funding through the Bloomberg Philanthropies Asphalt Art Initiative. We were able to secure $25,000 in funding from Bloomberg Philanthropies, as well as their resources throughout the entire program, which very much aided us in documentation, further traffic safety engagement, and just their overall support in actually implementing a street centric art piece. We also got funding from the Go Human Mini Grant from SCAG, which we received $14,000 for the project. And we also received a matching funding from the Jack Foundation of $25,000. So overall, we had a budget of $64,000 to implement in this project from all three of our supporters. A bit of the project timeline is that we were awarded the actual Bloomberg Asphalt Art Initiative in September 2021, and we immediately got underway planning everything with the Public Works Department here in the city of Long Beach, as well as our various other community partners, such as the Habitat for Humanity, the Washington Middle School, the Washington Neighborhood Association, the Long Beach Day Nursery were our main partners in this project. And the way we guided ourselves is by breaking it into 8 different parts. We first did some community surveying with our partners and the Public Works Department. We formed community meetings and community outreach in person as well as virtually. After we provided our survey and were able to have those community meetings, we created a community corners committee formed from the Washington neighborhood community members, leaders, as well as any stakeholders. This committee identified the artist criteria as to what the neighborhood would want to see. We then had an artist call where we invited artists to submit their art proposals. We then entered our second phase of engagement in terms of getting community voting and selecting the finalists. Then we entered the last leg of the project by installing the asphalt art as well as celebrating it. So at the bottom of the screen, I have our overall project timeline, which was September 2021, which when we got the award, all the way to May 2023 for the installation. So here is where we actually kicked off our Community Corners project, which was with the opening of the Growing Better Together mural at the Long Beach Day Nursery. This was painted by Mr. Toledo, and we used this culminating mural event to launch the Community Corners project and let people know that there was going to be artwork coming to the intersection of 15th and Chestnut, as we were already located at that location celebrating this mural. So as the text states, since April of 2022, we had already been working on a mural installation with the Long Beach Day Nursery. We were attending some zoning conversations with a local agency here in the city of Long Beach, as well as visioning workshops and our Go Human program that we implemented once we received the actual funding. So this was part of our engagement process dedicated to building that street level community resiliency and increasing traffic safety for everybody in the community. We have various images here of our celebration as well as our launch. I first want to discuss the Community Corner survey that was developed by the Long Beach Public Works Department. They developed this by using their Microsoft Forms, which was an online platform that we were able to disperse digitally. But since we were also in community and a lot of the folks that we engage with aren't that tech savvy, we also made a print version of this form where we had individuals actually just check off any of the answers on the form and write in any of the information there. And Arts Council staff went ahead and inputted this information into the survey form just to create that accessibility between the digital and the physical when we were out in our community. Actually, let me go back. And some of the questions that we worked with the Long Beach Public Works Department to implement, you could see one right there, which is the connection to the Washington neighborhood. We wanted to gauge people's actual interests and their connection to 15th Street and Chestnut and the overall neighborhood. We also asked them what their perceptions of the safety were of the actual intersection, their modes of transportation, when they actually access the intersection, just so that we could see what are the actual like upticks in terms of traffic, as well as pedestrian and various mobility during what hours. So that was a part of the survey engagement, as well as asking folks what they would want to see in a potential new artwork that would be installed in their neighborhood to help us gauge that artist call later on. So with that survey in mind and the engagement that we did, we developed a layered chalk art project, which kind of emulated those bulb outs. I think we had 4 chalkboards and we developed some stencils and we allowed people to draw on all of these chalkboards and kind of imagine what it would be like to be actually on the street, kind of stenciling in artworks. And so through this engagement, we allowed people to just do whatever they kind of wanted and also freely draw, so that we can see actual different elements that people wanted to see without actually asking them, hey, what are the elements that you want to see? So by them drawing it, we saw what they wanted to see on the floor. And we had really great positive reception on this engagement within our workshops and different events that we attended. People really just enjoyed the hands-on process of this activity in order to share what they wanted to see. And so here we have kind of like the table that was the information that we shared with the community at various events. We also created materials in Spanish, as the Washington neighborhood has a high Spanish-speaking population. So that was very essential for us to create in order to tap into the different communities that live within the Washington neighborhood. In addition to that activity, in order to get people engaged and also thinking about public safety, we led various public art tours in the Washington neighborhood that stopped at the different utility boxes, murals, and various other murals that were also created back in the 90s and early 2000s, to also kind of what would it be called? Get people to think about the different elements that are in their city and their neighborhood, think about what's been done, what can be done in the future, what works, what doesn't, and also kind of doing just surveying the actual safety of the intersections that are crossed by individuals every day. But our primary focus was leading people over to the 15th Street and Chestnut Avenue intersection, as that was our main component of these public art tours. And so we see here the map that we used off of Anaheim Street. We have 4 utility boxes. And so it kind of goes into a small circle shape that we followed. And there's other murals here that aren't actually depicted, as those were created prior to our programming. Here are some various images of our interactions at the Washington Middle School in terms of getting the 6th through 8th graders' opinions on what they would want to see, as our data found out that they are one of the highest users of the 15th Street and Chestnut Avenue intersection. So we had various community engagements here at the school with back to school. Yeah, we had some back to school nights. We also had some mid-semester community engagement nights that the Washington Middle School hosts. So we were pretty much there every time in order to get their input. And so we have some pre-installed data collection from the Long Beach Public Works Department. They helmed this section of the actual project, which the Arts Council for Long Beach is really grateful for. So they developed that stakeholder survey that I was discussing a little bit earlier. They focused on yield compliance, vehicle speed, the vehicle volume, bike, scooter volume, as well as pedestrian volume. So some of their findings were that they saw that there was high pedestrian activity to and from the Washington Middle School to the east, which is why we really tapped into the Washington Middle School as a partner in order to disseminate this traffic safety information. Very few parents walked or biked their children to the Long Beach State Nursery. We also saw that from our firsthand findings that a lot of parents just drop off their children at the Long Beach State Nursery as opposed to using the intersection. And we saw that there's a higher average pedestrian traffic in the PM. So through that 3 to 5 p.m. School trips, so when schools are coming out, when parents and guardians are leaving their jobs to pick up their students, and also going to the Long Beach Day Nursery. So all at once, there is an influx of people in the streets that are using the crosswalks and the different intersections. The posted speed on the intersection is 25 miles per hour, and the 85th percentile indicated that most vehicles were coming at 29 miles per hour, which is very problematic, as a full stop is harder to do as you approach that intersection. There are some areas of low visibility within the intersection as well. Traffic, especially cars, cut corners and usually go into deeper areas of the intersection when making their turns. So here are the different statistics and data that the Public Works Department was able to find through their observations and recordings in that month of May. So that really helped guide us and also helped us share this information with the community who already basically knew that this was happening, but we had the numbers to help back them up and also just share with fellow folks who wanted to learn more. Here is our engagement in the Washington community near the 15th Street and Chestnut Avenue using the kit of parts from SCAG, as well as the different promotional material we were able to use as banners and different board cutouts. We used the curb extension kit of parts to help describe and emulate what would be coming to the neighborhood. And we put out the different cones to act as the bollards that were going to be installed within the community. It's a little hard to tell in this picture right here, but there's a white line with two bollards that already started to depict the outline of where the real curb extension would be happening. And so we were pretty lucky that the Long Beach Public Works Department was kind of testing out and drawing the week before. That allowed us to also have that as a point of discussion as to like, hey, the curb extension is going to be coming. There's going to be some parking that will be eliminated as part of this curb extension in order to increase traffic and pedestrian safety, which resulted in a different conversation, which was one of our challenges that I can go into later in terms of parking spaces, as the Washington neighborhood is extremely impacted with parking, resulting usually in double parking. But we had a lot of positive feedback by actually being able to show what was going to be coming to the neighborhood by using this bulb out and having people go on a public art tour and end up here as the final piece. So I think it really was a full circle activity for people who were able to attend and able to share what their experiences were in terms of crossing the streets in the Washington neighborhood. And here I have a video created by SCAG of our project that I will be sharing. It's about a minute long. So let me go ahead and play that.
We are here to uplift and beautify the Washington neighborhood, and we have a special project going on. So here we are doing an intersection installation that will take this intersection and create a masterpiece that will be celebrated, as well as used to cull some of the bad driving in the neighborhood, as well as make it a lot safer for children.
So our narrator there was Terry Irby, who I mentioned earlier, who was just phenomenal in community engagement and really making this project come to fruition. A little bit more of our pre-install survey results that I want to touch upon are the ages of the people surveyed. So we had approximately 246 people submit a survey before the install. And so we see here that the community is very much intergenerational, with every age generation being around 50. And so this really exemplifies that this community, these intersections are frequented by many of the community members, not just young folk, but we also have to remember our older folk as well, who cross these streets at different speeds as a younger person would also. So we also took that into consideration as we were doing our engagement. And so from the artistic elements that the community wanted to see, we did a word cloud to see which of the words would stand out the most. And so we see here that people wanted colores or colors, a lot of animals, flores, flowers. They wanted to have more representation of the kids. The community had seen a previous piano crosswalk be installed, Unfortunately, that's something that we were not able to install with this project, but that's something that they would like to see within their community. And once again, just focusing on law of the children. So we took all of this pre-installed data and formed the Community Corners Committee, and they were the ones who helped analyze the themes and help come up with the overall guiding narrative for the project for the artist call. So the committee came up with a theme: fearless love, fearless dream, uplifting children and youth who use the intersection every day. So from there, we had our call for art, where artists in Long Beach, specifically Washington Neighborhood Connected artists, were asked to submit 3 previous works along with a description of a art proposal that they would like to do, so a written one. They were eligible to receive $250 if they were selected as a semifinalist, and the finalists were offered $5,000 for the installation. So these 10 artworks right here are the ones that were decided on by the Community Corners Committee after we had gone out and did all of our surveying in terms of voting. We have the different elements that the community wanted to see. We have flowers, we have nature, we have children, and we also have different various, this one is a dinosaur one, so nature in the past. So the community was able to vote on these 10 artworks. We had in-person ballots as well that people could number them 1 to 4. Or rather, they could scan the QR code if they wanted and vote through there. So anybody who did fill out physically, the Arts Council for Long Beach staff went in and then just submitted the survey on their behalf. After our total engagement, we had a total of 1,142 votes, which is basically 1/8 of the community of the Washington neighborhood, which is pretty outstanding. This is one of the highest number of votes that we've ever had here at the Arts Council for Long Beach. So that was really, really cool to see. And the 4 finalists that were voted on by the community were Fuzz Garden with their piece Soccer in the City. We had Drea with Avenida de las Flores, which plays on those 2 elements that the community really wanted to see: flowers and nature, children and sports engagement. Then we had Rebecca Rose with their piece, Our Tiny Neighbors, as well as Sunflower Hues with their piece, Dreams. And here are some small descriptions about the art pieces, going into detail about how they incorporated the themes that the community wanted to see. And here are the actual artists themselves from left to right: Sunflower Hues, Drea, Rebecca Rose, and Fuzz Garden. Here are some install shots that were taken back in May of 2023. The Long Beach Public Works Department helped secure the permits and the rights to closing down the intersection to avoid having any cars come through. The lines were delineated, the bulb outs with the cones, and so the artists were there for 2 days painting their murals, and we had various community members help and come assist, as well as other staff members from different departments. And so here we have the before and after of this community-led project. As we see here is the image without the bulb outs, and here they are with. So this definitely does extend the curb so that pedestrians and different mobility users can feel safer, actually standing in the corner and having a little bit of safety and not being clipped by a car. We can't see it here, but there are bollards installed on the outline of the curb extension, preventing cars from actually accessing the inside. What we have noticed is that bikes and different scooters do come into the area, as it's small enough for them to come in, which is one of the challenges that we've seen post-implementation. But another challenge that we've seen is the engagement with parking. There have been various times where cars actually do park inside the mural painted area, as this side, it doesn't have a bollard, but people have been able to park in there. And so that's something that has been a greater discussion. And we were recently awarded the 2024 American Planning Association Award for Grassroots Initiative, which was a great honor to be recognized for our work as well as taking our community leaders to get recognized at the actual reception as well. So that is pretty much the project for Community Corners. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergio. Very beautiful pictures, especially with the painted bulb outs. And so with that, that was our last speaker of the day, and we will be going into Q&A. I believe there were some questions when Kathy spoke, so I'm just trying to see if I can maybe find them. So let me try to navigate. Okay, yes, I have the first question, and I can also post it again in the chat too for everyone. So the first question, Kathy, we have is, in terms of traffic calming, what were the outcomes for the intersection by the school?
Yes, we did get some traffic calming. The visibility really did highlight the amount of activity that is at that intersection. So a lot of yellow paint, yellow tape, and what we're actually going to be adding, and I didn't talk about this in the presentation, is we're applying for a grant to do a cycle track on Golden Lantern, which is that major street that goes through that intersection. And so we'll be also adding green paint and the K71 green bollards for the cycle track. So what we're trying to do is just really highlight the activity of peds and bikes in this area. So that's the main focus. And we've seen that people do slow down for the students now.
Thank you. And that was from Katja Dillman from RRM. If you have any follow-up questions, Katja, please let me know. Please let Kathy know. If not, I'll just go to the next question, which is from Caitlin Brooks, VCTC. If they're still here, I'll just repost their question also. The question is, how do you respond to community concerns that the artistic crosswalks could be distracting for pedestrians, drivers, which may impact safety? We have heard this as a potential concern for artistic crosswalks.
I can take that question. We made sure to include the yellow, the bars that are perpendicular to the crosswalk. And the reason for that is so people recognize that as a crosswalk, and it's not just an art piece in the ground. So that, and we also selected designs that still made the design look like a crosswalk, because there were some submissions that looked very color intensive that might have drowned out the yellow crosswalk bars. And so it was very intentional what designs we selected to make sure that the art was behind the crosswalk bars but didn't take away from them.
Thank you, Kathy. And we have one last question for you. That is from Candace Vanderhyde, and I can post it again. What is the aggressive cycle track project you mentioned during your presentation?
It's a demonstration project of a cycle track, so it's not an actual cycle track yet, but we installed green conflict zone paint at the driveways. And we installed several different vertical elements like the K71 green bollards. We also had delineators, and we had these wheel stops that are, lower on the ground, and tested all of them out the week before the city's carnival. Which draws a lot of visitors in one area of the city over a weekend period. And that was our opportunity to showcase the different options that we have for a cycle track. And we did a survey, and the community basically said that they preferred the green bollards over the other treatments. And we received a lot of positive feedback. So that was very encouraging for us because we want to install what the community wants and what they like. So it was more of a demonstration project. I think SCAG does have the cycle track, in their kit of parts, because I believe City of Irvine did something like that in their city. So we did something very similar. We didn't use the SCAG materials, but we did something very similar, and it was a success.
Thank you. And I see one last question. This is for Sergio, but please, if anyone does have questions for all of our speakers, you're welcome to type it in the chat or raise your hand as well. Sergio, was there any data collected post-installation? Has there been a change in stopping behavior? The city was so good at taking data before. This is from Katja Dillman.
Awesome, thank you. I believe that the city has taken some post-installation data, as some of our reporting to Bloomberg Philanthropies is for a year out after the project has been installed. I stopped working as within the public art department here at the Arts Council for Long Beach a little prior to when that was actually going to be executed. But I believe that that data was taken. I don't have it at hand right now, but from discussing with Terry within the last 2 months, as well as Jesus Esparza, they have told me that there has been a change in stopping behavior. Some of the vehicles actually slow down a little bit, a lot further from the actual stop than what was previously taken account for, just because the actual extensions do make the intersection a lot skinnier. And so the car really just does fit by itself. So they have said that that has been a change, but I don't have any official city data that I can present.
No problem. Thank you. So that is it for the pre-selected questions that were in the chat. But if anyone here, please raise your hand using the raise hand function, or type it in the chat if there are any more lingering questions or comments for our speakers today. See, just a comment. Great presentations. Thank you for answering my questions. And if there are no more questions, going once, going twice. Okay, we're at the very last slide. So please tell us how we did today. If you have the time for a 2-minute survey, that will help us improve future Toolbox Tuesdays. You'll be able to scan here for that feedback that helps us a lot. And also, Amanda posted APA AICP credits here in the chat as well, if you would like to have credits for attending this training. With that, I think we will end just a bit early if no one has any more questions for our speakers today. But I wanted to thank our speakers for taking the time, the energy to create those presentations and to be here and to answer questions for our participants here. And with that, and thank you also for Jennifer, our AV support technician, and Amanda helping me create this toolbox session. Thank you, everyone, and we can end early. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.